Kai Winters stood at the observation deck of Starbase Aegis, watching the swirling nebula that had been his only companion for the past 3 years. The ancient space station hung in the void like a forgotten sentinel, its crystalline spires reflecting the ethereal light of distant stars. As Earth's sole diplomatic representative assigned to guard the Nexus, a mysterious artifact left behind by the enigmatic precursors, Kai had grown accustomed to the solitude. The quiet of his watch ended with a sound he hadn't heard in months, the emergency transmission alert. The holographic display materialized before him, showing a signal origin from the Centauri rim. The message came through in fragmented bursts, distorted by some kind of interference. "This is High Counselor Vera of the Luminary Collective. Catastrophic attack. Ancient enemy returned, requesting immediate assistance. Earth must remember." Kai's breath caught in his throat. The Luminary, one of the most advanced civilizations in known space, masters of bioengineering and stellar manipulation, asking for help. His fingers flew across the haptic interface, enhancing the deteriorating signal. Coordinates attached. Millions at risk. Please, we saved your world once. Now we need. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static. Kai's mind raced through his diplomatic training, searching for any mention of the Luminary saving Earth. Then it hit him. The Great Plague of 2187, nearly a century ago. The history text spoke of a mysterious cure appearing just as humanity faced extinction, delivered by an unknown alien race that disappeared as quickly as they had arrived. The station's eye spoke, its voice echoing through the chamber. "Ambassador Winters, I've detected elevated stress patterns in your vital signs. Would you like me to contact Earth Command?" Kai stared at the coordinates still floating in the holographic display. "No, Araya. First, show me everything we have on the Luminary Collective, and get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen." "Ambassador, protocol dictates that all non-emergency communications must be routed through." "Override protocol. Authorization Winters Lambda 7. This is about a debt humanity never paid." The AI paused, its processing core humming as it analyzed his authorization. Channel opening. Accessing archived files on the Luminary Collective. As data streams filled the air around him, Kai moved to his private quarters. The room was sparse, containing only a bed, a desk, and a wall of books. Real paper books, a luxury in space. He picked up an old volume titled The Plague Years and opened it to a dog-eared page. Admiral Chen responding. A gruff voice announced. The holographic projection showed a woman in her 60s, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, her Earth Defense Force uniform impeccable even at this late hour. "Admiral, I apologize for the unconventional contact, but we have a situation that requires immediate attention." Kai explained the distress call, watching as Chen's expression shifted from annoyance to concern to something deeper, recognition. "The Luminary," she whispered. "My grandmother was one of the plague survivors. She always claimed she saw them, said their ships looked like living crystal, that they moved like schools of fish through space." Chen's eyes hardened. "But you understand what you're asking, Ambassador. The Nexus is the most important artifact humanity has ever discovered. Leaving it unguarded. With respect, Admiral, we're talking about the race that saved our entire species, and now they're facing extinction themselves." Kai gestured to the historical data floating around him. "Look at these readings from 2187. The plague had a 99.9% mortality rate, 3 billion dead in 6 months. Then the Luminary arrived, and within weeks we had a cure. They asked for nothing in return. They just left. The Council will never approve military action without concrete evidence of the historical connection. Too many records were lost in the data purge of 2200. Kai smiled for the first time in months. "That's where you're wrong, Admiral. Araya, show her the genetic markers from the plague cure." New holographs sprang to life, showing complex molecular structures. The cure wasn't just medicine. Kai explained. It was bioengineering light years beyond human capability, and it left a signature. The same signature that appears in every piece of confirmed luminary technology. They didn't just save us. They literally rewrote our DNA to make us immune. Every human alive today carries their mark. Admiral Chen leaned forward, her image distorting slightly. You're suggesting we owe them not just a debt of gratitude, but a genetic debt. I'm suggesting we owe them everything. And now they need us. Kai took a deep breath. Admiral, I'm invoking Article 7 of the Guardian Protocols. I'm requesting immediate military assistance for the Luminary Collective, and I'm volunteering to lead the mission myself. The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Finally, Chen spoke, her voice carrying the weight of command. You understand that leaving the Nexus, even temporarily, violates every protocol we have. Some debts transcend protocol, Admiral. The luminaries save humanity without hesitation, without demanding anything in return. What does it say about us if we don't do the same? Chen's image flickered as she accessed additional data streams. I'll need 2 hours to convince the Council. And Ambassador. Her expression softened slightly. Your father would be proud of this decision. As the transmission ended, Kai turned back to the observation deck. The nebula seemed different now, its colors more intense, as if reflecting the gravity of the moment. Humanity had spent centuries reaching for the stars, dreaming of becoming a major power in the galaxy. Now they had a chance to prove they deserved that power, not through force or technology, but through honor and compassion. ARIA, begin preparations for departure, and send a message to the luminary coordinates. Hold on. Humanity remembers its debts. The Earth Defense Council chamber hummed with tension as Kai's holographic projection stood before the assembled leaders. Through the quantum link, he could see all 23 council members seated in the vast circular room, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of data displays. Behind them, through floor-to-ceiling windows, the gleaming spires of New Geneva stretched toward the sky. You're asking us to commit half the Earth defense fleet to an alien race we haven't had contact with in a century, Councillor Patel said, her voice sharp with skepticism. Based on a single distress call and historical records that are fragmentary at best. Kai kept his voice steady, though his hands clenched behind his back. With respect, Counselor, I'm asking us to honor the greatest debt humanity has ever owed. Araya, display the mortality projections from 2187. The air above the council table filled with grim statistics. Without luminary intervention, humanity would have been extinct within 8 months. Not weakened, not reduced, extinct. Kai gestured to the scrolling data. Their cure didn't just save those who were still alive. It protected all future generations. Every child born in the last century owes their existence to the luminary. Admiral Chen stood from her seat, her uniform catching the light. The military implications are clear. We have the ships. We have the personnel. What we need is the Council's authorization to act. And what of the Nexus? Councillor Zhang interrupted. You propose leaving our most valuable asset undefended. Not undefended, Kai corrected. Araya's defensive systems remain active. And consider this, if the luminary fall, what message does that send to the galaxy? That Earth ignores its debts. That will take help but never give it. The chamber fell silent. Kai pressed his advantage. We've spent decades trying to prove humanity belongs among the stellar powers. This isn't just about repaying a debt. It's about who we are as a species, what we stand for. A new figure rose, General Sarah Martinez, her dark eyes intense. I've reviewed the tactical data from the luminary distress call. Their attackers are using quantum phase weapons, technology we've only theorized about. If we commit our forces, we're looking at potentially severe casualties. Which makes our choice even more important, Kai replied. The luminary didn't calculate risks when they saved us. They didn't demand payment or guarantees. They acted because it was right. Admiral Chen's holographic displays shifted, showing fleet positions. I've prepared a strategic response plan. The second and fourth fleets can reach luminary space within 72 hours at maximum burn. The seventh fleet remains in reserve to protect Earth and our colonies. Council President Richardson, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. Ambassador Winters, you understand that if we approve this mission, you'll be its diplomatic commander. No more quiet duty watching the Nexus. You'll be responsible for thousands of lives. Kai met the president's gaze. I spent 3 years guarding humanity's greatest discovery. But what's the point of preserving artifacts if we lose our humanity in the process? The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions. Kai watched as alliances formed and shifted, as the council members wrestled with the weight of the decision. Finally, President Richardson raised her hand for silence. We'll put it to a vote. But first, she fixed Kai with a penetrating stare. Show us the cure's genetic signature again. Show us the proof in our very DNA. The holographic display shifted, showing the complex molecular structures that marked every human being alive. The subtle yet unmistakable luminary patterns woven through the genetic code drew gasps from several council members who hadn't seen it before. Every breath we take, Kai said softly, every child born, every human achievement of the last century exists because they chose to save us. Now they're asking for our help. What's our answer? The vote took less than 5 minutes. 17 in favor, 6 opposed. As soon as the count was finished, Admiral Chen began issuing orders, her voice crisp with authority. All fleet commanders, this is Operation Lightbringer. Battle stations. Priority 1 deployment. Ambassador Winters, President Richardson called as the chamber began to empty. A moment. She waited until the others had gone. There's something you should know about the luminary, something that wasn't in the public records. Kai's hologram flickered as he leaned closer. My grandfather was on the scientific team that analyzed their cure. He told me they could have demanded anything from us in return. Our resources, our loyalty, even our planet. We were helpless. Instead, do you know what their only message said? Kai shook his head. The stars belong to all who dare to reach for them. They didn't just save our lives, Ambassador. They believed in our potential. The president's eyes shone with unexpected emotion. Don't let that faith be misplaced. As the quantum link dissolved, Kai found himself back on Starbase Aegis, but everything had changed. Through the observation windows, he could already see the first ships arriving, their engines burning bright against the darkness. Humanity was going to war not for conquest or resources, but to repay an act of compassion that had saved their entire species. RIA. He commanded, prepare my shuttle, and send a message to the incoming fleet commanders. The stars remember, and so do we. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDF Hyperion, watching as the combined Earth fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of luminary territory, 200 ships strong, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled, emerging into a war zone that defied comprehension. The luminary home system was a battlefield unlike anything in human military history. Massive crystalline structures, their cities and habitats, drifted through space, many shattered or burning. Against this backdrop, strange geometric ships that seemed to defy physics themselves pursued smaller vessels that glowed with internal light. Multiple contacts, Lieutenant Park announced from Tactical, identifying luminary signatures based on historical data. The attacking forces. He hesitated. Ma'am, their energy signatures are off the charts. Kai Winters stood beside Captain Rodriguez, his diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the military personnel around him. Those are the harvesters, he said quietly. The luminary transmission mentioned an ancient enemy. Looks like they weren't exaggerating. All ships, battle formations. Admiral Chen's voice came through clear on the command channel. Remember your training. These bastards may have fancy tech, but they've never faced humanity before. Rodriguez watched as the fleet split into its predetermined groups. The Hyperion would lead Strike Group Alpha, tasked with protecting what remained of the luminary civilian population. The rest of the fleet would engage the Harvester forces directly. Ambassador Winters, she said, now would be a good time to make contact with the luminary. Kai nodded, moving to the communication station. The message he prepared was simple. Children of Earth, remember their debts. We stand with the luminary. For long moments, there was no response. Then the bridge illuminated with a holographic presence, a being of crystalline light and flowing energy that took roughly humanoid form. I am High Counselor Vera, it spoke, its voice carrying harmonics that made the air vibrate. You actually came. We remember, Kai replied simply. The plague, the cure, everything. Incoming, Park shouted. 3 Harvester vessels had broken from the main battle, heading straight for the Hyperion. Their ships were dark, almost invisible against space itself, their surfaces rippling with patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. Evasive maneuvers, Rodriguez ordered. All batteries, target the lead vessel. Show them what Earth brings to the fight. The Hyperion's rail guns opened up, sending hypervelocity rounds at the approaching enemy. The shots passed straight through the first Harvester ship, as if it wasn't there. Phase shifted, Park reported. Our weapons can't touch them. High Counselor Vera's hologram flickered. Their technology allows them to exist partially out of normal spacetime. This is why we cannot. With respect, Rodriguez interrupted. Humanity's got a few tricks of our own. Lieutenant Park, activate the resonance cannons. The weapons have been theoretical until 6 months ago. Devices capable of generating quantum fluctuations that could disrupt phase-shifted matter. They'd never been tested in actual combat. Until now. The Hyperion shuddered as the resonance cannons fired. Beams of pure energy lanced out, catching the lead Harvester ship in a web of quantum disruption. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the enemy vessel's phase shifting failed spectacularly. It snapped back into normal space, directly into the path of the Hyperion's conventional weapons. The explosion lit up the battlefield like a new star. All Earth vessels, Rodriguez broadcast, resonance cannons are effective, transmitting firing solutions now. The battle shifted dramatically. The Harvester ships, accustomed to being virtually invulnerable, suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that could not only see them but hurt them. The Earth fleet, though technologically inferior in many ways, had the one thing the Harvesters didn't expect: the ability to adapt. Multiple Harvester ships retreating, Park reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. They're falling back to regroup. Vera's hologram watched the battle with an expression that might have been awe. In all our histories, no species has ever been able to counter their phase-shifting technology. How did you? Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Kai explained. It's our ability to look at a problem from angles nobody else considered. You gave us a future when you saved us from the plague. We spent that future pushing boundaries, asking questions, refusing to accept limitations. The bridge crew watched as more Harvester ships withdrew, their perfect formations breaking down in the face of humanity's unexpected effectiveness. But Rodriguez knew better than to celebrate too early. They'll be back, she said. And next time they'll be ready for the resonance cannons. Then we'll have something else waiting for them, Kai replied. He turned to Vera's hologram. High Counselor, I propose an immediate exchange of technological and tactical information. Your understanding of the Harvesters combined with our unconventional approach might be exactly what we need. Vera's form shimmered with what might have been emotion. When we saved your species, we saw potential in humanity. But this, the hologram gestured at the battlefield, where Earth ships were now protecting luminary civilian vessels. This exceeds all we hoped for. That's humanity for you, Rodriguez said with a grim smile. We're full of surprises, and we're just getting started. As if to emphasize her words, another Harvester ship exploded, its phase shifting failing under the combined attack of Earth and luminary weapons. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter, witnessing the moment when humanity repaid its greatest debt, not just with gratitude, but with innovation, courage, and the unshakable determination to protect those who had once protected them. 3 days into the war, the true cost of humanity's intervention became clear. The Hyperion's medical bay was overflowing with both human and luminary casualties, the wounded sharing space as Earth's doctors worked alongside crystalline beings of pure energy to save lives from both species. Dr. Sarah Chen, Admiral Chen's daughter, moved between the beds, her hand steady despite 30 hours without sleep. She paused beside a young ensign whose body had been partially phased out of normal space by a harvester weapon. The boy's molecules were literally trying to exist in 2 dimensions at once. His cellular structure is degrading. A luminary healer named Xin observed, its crystalline form pulsing with concern. Our traditional methods cannot restore the phase variance. Sarah studied the readings, her mind racing. What if we combine approaches, your energy manipulation with our resonance technology? She looked up at the hovering being. It's never been tried. But that is why we admire humanity. Xin finished. You see possibilities where others see only barriers. In the command center above, Kai Winters and Captain Rodriguez were facing a different kind of crisis. The latest tactical projections floated between them, showing the Harvester fleet regrouping for a massive counterattack. They're adapting to our resonance weapons, Rodriguez said grimly. Each encounter, they get better at maintaining their phase shift. We're losing our advantage. High Counselor Vera's hologram appeared, its light dimmer than before. We have discovered why they attacked now, after so many millennia. The being's form flickered with distress. They detected your species' potential, the genetic modifications we made to cure the plague. They see it as contamination. They believe we have corrupted the natural order. Kai's face hardened. So this isn't just about the luminary anymore. They'll come for Earth next. Yes, Vera confirmed. But we have discovered something else. The Harvester's phase technology relies on a quantum network centered in their flagship. If we could destroy it, they'd be trapped in normal space. Rodriguez finished. Vulnerable. But getting to their flagship. She studied the tactical display. It would be a suicide mission. The command center door slid open, admitting Admiral Chen. Her uniform was wrinkled, her eyes tired but determined. Not necessarily suicide, just costly. She manipulated the display, highlighting a particular section of the Harvester fleet. We've identified a weakness in their formation. A small task force might be able to slip through, especially if we launch a major attack as a distraction. How small? Kai asked, though he already suspected the answer. 3 ships, fast, maneuverable, with our best crews. Chen's expression was grim. But they'd need a luminary guide. Someone who understands Harvester technology intimately. All eyes turned to Vera's hologram. The beam's light pulsed slowly. I will go. But you should know, the energy backlash from destroying their network will affect all phase-based technology in the system, including. The hologram flickered meaningfully. Including you, Kai finished quietly. Your entire species exists partially in phase space. You're telling us that stopping the Harvesters might force us to choose a single-dimensional state, Vera confirmed. We would survive, but we would lose much of what makes us unique. Our ability to exist as pure energy, to shape reality itself, all would be diminished. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Humanity had come to save the luminary, but victory might fundamentally change the very species they were trying to protect. In the medical bay below, Sarah and Xin had succeeded in stabilizing their patient. The young ensign's molecules were realigning, his body returning fully to normal space. But as they worked, Sarah noticed something strange in the readings. Xin, she called, look at this. The interaction between your energy manipulation and our technology. It's creating something new, a stable bridge between phase states. The luminary healer studied the data, its crystalline form brightening with excitement. This could be. Significant, not just for healing, but for survival itself. The Discovery raced through the fleet's communication channels, reaching the command center just as the leaders were wrestling with their impossible choice. Kai read the medical report twice, then looked up at Vera's hologram with renewed hope. "Maybe we don't have to choose between victory and preservation," he said. "Maybe, once again, the combination of our species' knowledge creates something greater than either of us could achieve alone." Admiral Chen was already calling up new tactical simulations, a hybrid approach, not trying to disable their phase technology entirely, but transforming it, converting their weapon into a bridge between states of being. Vera finished, its light growing stronger. "Just as we once helped humanity evolve without losing its essence, perhaps humanity can now help us do the same." Captain Rodriguez straightened, her fatigue forgotten. "I'll volunteer to lead the strike force, but we'll need to modify the resonance cannons immediately, and we'll have less than one chance to get it right." "That's all humanity has ever needed," Kai said softly. "One chance to prove what we're capable of. One opportunity to show the galaxy that debts of honor bind us all." As the command center erupted into activity, with orders being relayed and ships being repositioned, Kai found himself standing before Vera's hologram. "When you saved us," he said, "did you know it would lead to this? That we'd end up changing each other so fundamentally?" The being's light pulsed in what might have been laughter. "We knew only that your species refused to accept defeat, even in the face of extinction. We hoped that quality would lead to something remarkable." The hologram gestured at the bustling command center, at the displays showing human and luminary ships moving in perfect coordination. "It seems we were right." The stars trembled as reality itself bent under the strain of the coming battle. The strike force, 3 Earth vessels and 1 crystalline luminary ship, accelerated toward the massive Harvester flagship, while behind them, the combined fleet engaged the enemy in the largest space battle humanity had ever witnessed. Captain Rodriguez sat in the Hyperion's command chair, her hand steady on the controls despite the knowledge that the next few minutes would determine the fate of 2 civilizations. Beside her, High Counselor Vera's physical form glowed with an intensity that made the bridge crew's eyes water. "Multiple Harvester vessels on intercept course," Lieutenant Park reported, his voice tight with tension. "They've adapted to our standard resonance frequencies." "Good thing we're not using standard frequencies anymore," Rodriguez replied. She opened a channel to the other ships in the strike force. "Remember your training, everything we practiced. Don't stop for anything." The Harvesters came at them with weapons that bent space itself, trying to tear the strike force apart molecule by molecule. But the modified resonance shields held, creating a bubble of stable space-time around each ship, a direct application of what Dr. Chen and Xin had discovered in the medical bay. "They're realizing something's wrong," Kai observed from his station. "Their attacks are becoming more erratic." Indeed, the Harvester ships were breaking formation, their usual geometric precision dissolving into chaos as they encountered something they'd never faced before, technology that didn't just counter their phase shifting, but integrated with it. "Energy spike from the flagship," Park warned. "They're charging their main weapon." The massive Harvester vessel loomed before them, its surface a void that seemed to swallow light itself. As they watched, that darkness began to pulse with power, preparing to unleash a weapon that could phase an entire fleet out of existence. "Now," Rodriguez ordered. The strike force split apart with precision that would have been impossible just days ago. The Hyperion and its sister ships took up triangular positions around the flagship, while Vera's vessel moved to the center of their formation. As one, they activated their modified resonance cannons. But instead of attempting to disrupt the Harvester's phase technology, the beams combined to create something entirely new, a quantum bridge between phase states, encasing the flagship in a field that forced it to exist in all possible states simultaneously. "Energy readings off the scale," Park reported, his console blazing with warnings. "Their weapon is destabilizing." Vera's form pulsed with urgency. "Their network is trying to compensate. if we can hold the field for just a few more seconds. The bridge shook violently as the Hyperion's engines strained against the gravitational forces being generated by the quantum bridge. Warning klaxons blared as systems began to overload. "Hull integrity failing," Park shouted. "We can't maintain this level of power." "We have to," Rodriguez insisted. "Everything depends on—" She never finished the sentence. The Harvester flagship's weapon detonated, but instead of phasing their ships out of existence, the energy was caught in the quantum bridge. Reality itself seemed to hiccup as the massive release of power was channeled and transformed. For one eternal moment, every being in the system, human, luminary, and harvester alike, existed simultaneously in all possible states of being. They saw through each other's eyes, felt with each other's senses, understood with each other's minds. Then the moment passed, and the universe snapped back into focus. The Harvester flagship hung motionless in space, its surface no longer a void but a crystalline lattice that reflected starlight. Around it, the remaining Harvester ships had frozen in place, their phase technology permanently altered by the quantum cascade. "Status report," Rodriguez managed, pulling herself back into her chair. "The quantum bridge worked," Park said, his voice filled with awe. "The Harvesters, they're stuck in a hybrid state. Not fully phased, not fully normal. Just like what we discovered could save the luminary." Kai finished. He turned to where Vera's form still hovered, though changed. The being now existed as a perfect blend of energy and matter, neither fully physical nor fully ethereal. "We are transformed," Vera announced, its voice carrying new harmonics. "But not diminished. Your species has given us something we never imagined possible, a way to evolve without losing ourselves." Across the battlefield, the remaining Harvester ships were powering down, their crews experiencing existence in a completely new way. The quantum bridge hadn't just stopped them, it had forced them to experience the very thing they had fought against: change, adaptation, evolution. "Admiral Chen is reporting total surrender of Harvester forces," Park announced. They're requesting to open diplomatic channels." Rodriguez laughed, the sound carrying equal parts exhaustion and triumph. "Of course they are. Nothing changes your perspective quite like being forced to see through everyone else's eyes." In the days that followed, as the combined fleet began the work of reconstruction, the true magnitude of what had been achieved became clear. The luminary, rather than losing their unique nature, had evolved into beings that could bridge multiple states of existence. The Harvesters, stripped of their technological superiority, had been forced to confront the possibility that adaptation and change were not enemies to be destroyed, but opportunities to be embraced. And humanity. They had proven themselves to be more than just debtors repaying an ancient obligation. They had shown the galaxy that their greatest strength lay not in their technology or their weapons, but in their ability to imagine solutions where others saw only problems. 1 month later, Kai stood once again on the observation deck of Starbase Aegis, but this time he wasn't alone. Representatives from a dozen species had gathered to witness the signing of the Quantum Accords, a new treaty that would reshape galactic society. "The stars belong to all who dare to reach for them," he quoted, remembering the luminary's ancient message to humanity. "But perhaps they belong even more to those who dare to reach out to each other." Vera's transformed form glowed in agreement. "When we saved your species, we gave you a future. In return, you gave us something even more precious, a way to face change without fear." The Nexus, still spinning slowly in its containment field, seemed to pulse in response to their words. And in that moment, Kai understood that some debts could never truly be repaid. They could only be transformed into bonds that made all species stronger. The age of isolation was over. The age of integration had begun. And humanity, having proven itself worthy of its place among the stars, would help lead the way into whatever wonders or challenges awaited them all.